Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Alex, Comic Quarter. Thank you so much for clicking play on this video. I've got Tim, Large Man's Life, on Instagram. Make sure you're following him. We're back with some more key comic books. And once again, we found some books within this last pile that we've kind of set aside. And then we also have a short box over there. Some of these books are more valuable than our top 10 that we've selected.
It's amazing how the hype can drive it, where you recognize things and automatically assume, oh, that's going to be worth a lot of money. And then as you start doing the research and looking up the recent sales, you're going, we made a mistake.
Yeah, so this has been pretty fun. Hopefully you guys are excited for the video. Here we go.
So first we're going to start off with, this was almost an accidental find. This is funny book number 1. And well, I guess what's funny about this is I was looking up in Key Collector for a couple issues of Cherry Pop-Tart that we found. And Cherry Pop-Tart is kind of like a spoof character.
Yeah, spoof of Betty and Veronica or Cheryl Blossom,
right,
of the Archie series.
So as I was looking through Key Collector, I remember I saw this book as the first appearance, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then as I started flipping through some of the indie books that we had made a big pile of, what do you know? Here it came up. So this one it's a 4.0 is what we graded it. It's not an overly expensive book. It's worth $50 at that number. This is one of those books that is more adult themed in nature, so not necessarily something we collect, but still pretty neat to have. First appearance of Cherry Pop-Tart. So funny book number 1.
Yeah, it really does appear to be much better condition than it is, but there is a really nice spine split, about 2-inch spine split, almost to the top staple. Unfortunately, that really brings it down, and there's some water damage on the back, but good pressing and cleaning. The book really does present really well, and so 4.0 is $50. Something we didn't even know existed.
Pretty cool find.
In the same vein, we found some, I'll let you hold that one.
All right.
We found some very notable independent books, and these are actually banned books by Disney. This is Air Pirates Funny number 2 and Air Pirates Funny number 1, and these are the Denny O'Neil books in the 70s where he drew the very likeness of Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse. I think there's Donald Duck in these stories as well. In both books, you can see dope on the cover, so there's some drugs on the cover. There's sexual themes on the inside of these books, but for that very reason, this was banned. And he was sued, cease and desist order, probably sued as well. I can't remember the entire story, but it's not Denny O'Neil because that's the Green Lantern writer, right? I can't remember, but it's something very similar to that. I'm sure I'll put a little footnote down here of the actual guy's name, but not to be confused with the Green Lantern writer. Very, very neat stuff. Glad we found it. This one is a very nice book, to be honest. 7.0 as it sits right now. Could improve with the pressing and cleaning. $50 value on this one, and
this one it came out as 5.0, and some spine issues, color rubs, just kind of all total stuff. And so at a 5.0, it's an $80 book. This is one I wouldn't have even known what it was. I never heard of it. I never seen it. And Alex, in all his comic book wisdom, just kind of knew and pointed it out. So again, nothing overly exciting. It's just a cool piece of history to have.
It's a really cool book.
It's a really cool book. This is the Dark Horse Comics Insider from October of 1995. And so you can see Luke Skywalker on the front cover. Star Wars stuff is just hot right now. They're calling it the first appearance of Admiral Thrawn. I think, is that right?
Yep.
And it's tough to find some relevant sale listings because if you look on eBay, there's listings for ungraded copies of this book from $200 to $250. There's a 9.4 that's listed for $650. But when you look at actual sold listings for ungraded copies, we have this one at a $50 to $75 book. We have it graded. Well, we don't really have it graded per se as it sits.
Mid-grade somewhere.
Mid-grade, it definitely needs a cleaning and a pressing, and then it would just kind of see where it comes out at. So all Star Wars stuff is really cool right now, really hot. And this one, it's a preview, and first appearance of Admiral Thrawn, and everything Star Wars is just on fire.
Yeah, buyer beware on this book too, though. If you're going to spend a ton of money, which I know there's a lot of hype for preview books, but if you're going to spend money on this book thinking that there's some sort of preview story inside, it is another image of this exact cover on the inside with a description of what the book is, where it came from, the novel series that it came from, and that's pretty much it. But the hype is all real on preview issues these days. Whether you agree with it or not, that's what the market has dictated. Who knows? This is a $50 to $75 book in the condition that it's in right now. Those aren't very impressive.
Sure they are. That's more about history. That's not necessarily really cool value. It's just, like, I think that's fascinating. I never knew that existed.
Yeah.
He didn't try to fake it. That's Mickey.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no, you're not looking at that going, like, no, that's Mickey. And he just
literally
did it.
There's a video on YouTube where he literally talks about Mickey Mouse, and he's like, to draw an authentic Mickey, you got to put one ear at 9 and one ear at 11. Yeah, he doesn't fake it.
But that's just more, this is interesting stuff that we found. It's not like it's going to blow the doors off value-wise, and that's just Star Wars. Everybody loves Star Wars right now.
And there's still some stuff over there, too, that we haven't even looked up. There's so many more of these underground indie books that we haven't even investigated what they are.
Yeah.
Jesus Goes to the Grocery Store.
Those are funny.
The New Adventures of Jesus from 1970.
I have the Marvel comic book of Pope John Paul II.
Oh, yeah.
It was in one of those random boxes that I had. I'm like, oh, look, it's the Pope.
And another thing, too, about the collection, I honestly wish there were more of these because there are stacks of preview magazines or preview books, even bound, like they had never been opened or released. Like I found one about Kingdom Come, which was really neat. So we'll have to take a look at that stuff in the future. Yeah. All right, next book up is one that's very, very relevant for today. The Eternals #1, the first appearance of a lot of the Eternals. I can't remember all of them, but
there's a bunch of them.
A lot of them are in here. And I know in the subsequent issues, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down the road, there are more and more important first appearances. We all know this one. It's important. This is about a 6.0, and in that condition, it does have a pop top staple. And so we really thought, man, this looks like an 8.0. But with that defect, for a blue label universal grade, we're going for a 6.0. And this is an $85 book in that condition. We're thinking, too, that there must be some sort of cap to where if it's a great looking book, but it's got a pop top staple, unless you want a green label to get the blue label, what is the maximum grade you can get? I'm not sure what that is, but in this case, we graded this at a 6.0.
So this is a cool example of most of the MCU movies that have come out, Spiderman and Iron Man and Avengers and all that stuff. I kind of knew about those. And at times, I've not always been on board with movies and that type of stuff driving the hype for comics, because I think the classic comics are just valuable for what's in them. But this is a good example. Eternals was never something I read.
Never.
But when I saw that the movie came out, I got interested in Eternals and have wanted to look into it and read it. So from that standpoint, I don't know, call me a hypocrite. The movie has helped drive my interest in this book and in this series. So it's fun. I think it's going to be fun to look into it and read it before the movie actually comes out.
Another example kind of would be the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Because I looked at that when they were announcing movies, and I was like, who in the crap are the Guardians of the Galaxy? And why do I care? I mean, it's a cool cast.
Yeah. Is that a trash panda?
Yeah, exactly. But this is another example of how the MCU is just going to take a C level. This was a $1 book. This was literally under $10 book, a few years ago. And now it's $85 in this condition. So
true enough.
Pretty awesome stuff.
So next up, we're going to show two here because they're both relevant together. So the first up one we've got is Marvel Premiere #15. This is the first appearance of Iron Fist, as you can see on the cover there. And we have this one graded at 7.0. It's a really nice copy. It's just got some spine issues. And overall, though, really presents well at a 7.0. It's a $220 book.
And I did check, and it does have the Marvel value stamp in this one, because that's one that you definitely want to check for that.
Good catch. And then next to go with that is Iron Fist 1, first Iron Fist in his own title. And pretty neat. He's fighting there, Iron Man on the cover. And this one, we graded at 7.5. Again, presents really well. It's just got some small, kind of minor defects. Crunched corner, I think, some spine ticks, stuff like that. But this one at a 7.5 is a $90 book.
All right, next book up is a classic Jack Kirby. Every time I see this cover, it just screams Jack Kirby. This is Black Panther #1. This is the first Black Panther in a solo ongoing. We graded this one at a 7.0, and at 7.0, it's still a $110 book. Really awesome stuff. Beautiful Jack Kirby cover, and it really does present very, very, very nicely. There are some really strange printer errors on this one, like where the page almost looks ripped, but it's not. It almost looks creased, but it's not. It's just a printer error.
It's like a ridge.
Yeah.
There, you can see it right there. And it looks like a hair. I was almost going to scratch it off when I was looking at it, but it's not.
And I don't know if a press can get that out. I would assume so, but it would probably take a lot of meticulous work on the presser's end. But really awesome book, $110 value at 7.0.
Next book we've got here is X-Men #35. We graded this one at a 6.0. It's an older book. It's going to have some issues with it, just kind of as we've expected with finding all these comics in a plastic tub. This is the first meeting of Spider-Man and the Avengers, and also the first Changeling. Changeling, I always associate with that character Morph from the
Animated,
cartoons,
yeah.
I think from the '90s or so, but it can change his shape, change his form. So just love early X-Men. Great to have this book at a 6.0. This book is a $170 value.
Yep.
Can't go wrong with the X-Men.
You did exactly what I did on the first video, where you called the X-Men the Avengers, the first meeting of Spider-Man and the Avengers. I did the same.
Did I call them Avengers?
But then you corrected it.
Sweet.
You called them the X-Men, so that's awesome. But this was, tell them about, this was one of your first Silver Age books you've ever owned?
Oh, it was the first Silver Age book I ever owned, and man, it was a ratty copy. I've upgraded since then, but that was the first one that was mine. Previously, before that, my dad had a bunch of his, but they were his. He wouldn't let me have them.
And interestingly enough, Changeling, so that was your first Silver Age. My first Silver Age was X-Men issue number 42, which was the death of Professor X, but it turned out that it was just Changeling.
Yeah.
So both of us had our first Silver Age book that was our very own, with the classic costumes and everything like that, were both Changeling issues and X-Men. So that's pretty cool. We're soul brothers, Changeling brothers, probably.
That's fair.
I would assume.
That's fair.
Maybe.
I would
Probably not.
I would love to have Changeling's powers. That would just be fun.
Oh, man.
It would just be fun.
That's like the 11-year-old coming out. Like,
Yes. Yes.
Like, we'll edit that out.
That's funny.
That will never make it to the video.
No, that's yeah.
All right. No.
Wait, he's a friend of Doom.
Boris is a friend of Doom and the father of Valeria, Doom's deceased
So
love.
Doom was crushing on his buddy's daughter?
Oh, no.
I would say stick to the origin of Doom.
Boris. He was a good friend. He was a really good friend.
You can't just say he was a friend of Doom because people are like, that's not a key.
Yeah.
It's just Boris.
All right, this is Fantastic Four annual number 2, and it's it's the origin of Doctor Doom. It's a detailed origin of Doctor Doom,
Yes.
is what it says. And it's also, interestingly enough, funny story, it's the first appearance of Boris.
This is a weird story.
And Boris is Victor Von Doom's good buddy.
His buddy. Yep. He's the father of Valeria.
Boris is the father of Valeria. Dr. Doom's
Childhood love.
childhood love.
Doom was crushing on his buddy's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Odd.
Yeah, so that's strange, but this is Fantastic Four number 2 from 1964, as you can see right there in that box. We graded this at a 3.0. It's a solid book. It's got some issues, as they all do, but I've seen issues like square-bound books like this graded with like parts of the spine hanging off, and they still get solid grades. I think they just know that that's going to happen. But 3.0, and it's honestly a $220 book in this condition.
Can't believe you went there.
Valeria.
All right, so let's see here.
That's a really cool book.
It's a really cool book. It's a really nice book.
Yeah, I would say this is, because look at that edge here. That's beautiful. For that book, I've had that book and it's looked nasty. Like tan all over.
This isn't one that I've ever had. So the next book we're going to talk about is New Gods #1, and this one is in really good shape. We graded it at a 7.5, but it's another one of those books that if it came back at an 8, wouldn't shock us in the slightest. Now at a 7.5, it's a $140 book. So I'm going to use my handy dandy key collector app here because it's got so many first appearances and important pieces in it that I don't remember them all. So you've got the first appearance of Orion, who's the son of Darkseid, the first appearance of Highfather, the first appearance of Metron, who invented the boom tubes, the first appearance of Orion's half-brother Calabac, first appearance of Lightray, first appearance of New Genesis and Apocalypse, the first team appearance of the Parademons, and the first appearance of the Mobius chair.
Dang.
Whew. So if you've seen the Justice League Apocalypse cartoon movies, and I think Apocalypse Dark, I don't remember, there's 2 of them. More adult themed, kind of grim, kind of gruesome, not necessarily something you watch with your kids, but you see a bunch of that stuff. The Parademons, you see the boom tubes, you see all that stuff, and it's a good cartoon. It's a really cool series, but a lot of first appearances in that are carryovers to that. So another series I don't know a ton about, but just with some of the cartoons and the movies that I'm interested in getting into and reading.
I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm going to confidently say New Gods #1 at a 7.5 at $140. This is a book that if you don't have it, it's probably going to go up in value one of these days. They're going to announce a New Gods movie, like officially start producing it, and then this book is going to explode. For $140, relative to a lot of like the other movies that have been announced, that's not too big of an investment. That's not too drastic of a price to pay.
It wouldn't be a stretch because of the Justice League movies, and I think the talk is that Steppenwolf is supposedly a lieutenant for Darkseid. Mm-hmm. If they introduce Darkseid into Justice League movies, well then guess what? You've got all of these other things that just go hand in hand. Boom Tubes and Apocalypse and his son and all the other people that are in part of that storyline. So I think Alex is right on the money there. That at $140 for 7.5, that's affordable. You heard it here first.
All right, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 16. What an awesome early, under 20s Amazing Spider-Man. This is the first meeting between Spider-Man and Daredevil. You've got Daredevil in that classic yellow and brown suit, which is really nice. I actually like that just because I like the classic aspect of it. I know that the red costume is the more classic, but I do appreciate the original costume. We graded this at a 3.0. It's got this huge marker right here, 6. Not 100% sure what they were going for there. Just probably a kid practicing their 6s, honestly. It's got some spine issues, some corner creases and whatnot. But it's a solid book, 3.0, and at 3.0, any early Amazing Spider-Man is worth money, and this is a $240, according to Go Collect, value.
I think it just shows the staying power of Spider-Man and how popular a character he is, because I think both of us were surprised at a 3.0 that it was a $240 book. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool book. So next book we've got here is Werewolf by Night, #1. This is one of those series never really read, never was exposed to, but people love the horror stuff. And so obviously this is the first appearance. Is this first appearance of Werewolf by Night? I think it's first in his own title.
In his own.
So
it
first
was like a Spotlight comic or something like that. That was first appearance.
So first in his own title. This one is in really good shape. We graded it at 7.5. Again, trying to be conservative. At a 7.5, it's a $210 book. The last sale was in November of 2020, and it was a $214 sale. So where does this one go? I don't know. But really neat to have, and especially in a good grade like this.
And I was actually blown away and surprised by the $210 value on this, because when I was looking this up, I said I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't worth anything.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, in that grade, it's worth quite a bit.
Yeah. So the last book we've got is Amazing Spider-Man #12. This one is at a 3.5, and the great thing about having one is...
Yeah, there's nothing better than having a double of that book, especially early Amazing Spider-Man. Gotta love it.
So, Amazing Spider-Man #12, this is the third appearance, I think, of Dr. Octopus. So, nothing overly significant, I think, about this book, other than the fact that it's Amazing Spider-Man #12. This one's a 3.5, and yours is a...
5.5. So,
the 3.5 is a $270 book.
And this 5.5, we looked it up on Go Collect, and sales are incredible for this book. This is a $375 book. That's fantastic. That's a really strong price for a nice book like this. And I love the yellow cover with Doc Ock. Like, Spider-Man is trying to evade him. He's getting exposed. The identity where he's getting exposed is always his #1 concern. So.
And I think they've got the guy who played Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2, I think it was, is coming. I think they're bringing him back for Spider-Man 3.
Yeah,
is that right?
I believe, yeah. There's so much speculation on bringing back all of those Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield characters back again with the original actors, which is pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. It'll be cool to see what they do with that. But so third appearance of Dr. Octopus. It's early Spider-Man. Really can't go wrong.
All right, so where do we go from here? We've got another short box right here, full, jam-packed front to back of books, and we're working on bagging and boarding and just sorting out some more of the collection over there. But I think the next video will probably rifle through some of the short box. There is, believe it or not, there's more DC. That was the first DC book that we've shown. First and only, the New Gods, right?
I think so, yeah. We didn't find much, if anything, really in the way of Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or Green Lantern. It largely seemed to be indie comics and Marvel.
The lore of this collection was that it was a local guy to our town that owned this collection originally. And whether he passed or somehow he was not able to own this collection anymore, the collection went to auction. And there were 2 guys that were bidding on it. The guy that we bought it from, and then one guy from up north a little bit, about a half hour to an hour away from where we live. He came down, bid it up, and he bought 5 totes, right?
5 of them, yep.
5 of the, would it be
So it'd be
17?
18.
18 totes. So he bought the 5 first totes, and then they bid it up again. And then the guy that we bought it from bought everything else. Just took it all, and it really dropped the the mouth of the guy that came from up north, because he was a big comic book guy. He thought he was going to come away with a lot more. But it's interesting what was in those tubs. If this is what we found, was there an ASM 1? Was there an Amazing Fantasy 15 in there? Because there are some Amazing Spider-Man runs. There are some Fantastic Four runs, and it starts at weird places.
Yeah, it does. So the guy we bought it from claimed that he bought it at that auction and then stuck it in a garage and didn't look at it for 25 years. Yeah. It wouldn't shock me because he was into a lot of other stuff, furniture and lamps and old games and things like that. And so comics was just, hey, it's in those tubs, it's back there. And he was getting a little older, and so he was trying to get rid of some stuff, and that was why he ended up posting this up for sale, and how we ended up with 13 plastic tubs full of this stuff.
So in our next video, we're going to rifle through the short box. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this stuff. If you do, hit that thumbs up button. Tim's considering starting a YouTube channel, so we'll post that, maybe give you an update next time. And with that being said, you guys, we'll talk to you on the next one. See ya. Bye.
See you soon.